Hello, friends. We are getting into another episode of, not an episode of anything, just another episode of live streaming. I'm getting my music set up right now. And I am getting my screen share set up. So bear with me as I pull this up. Let's see, where are we? There we go. Share that screen. Should be coming up there. Awesome. And with that in place, the only thing I have left is it's doing some stuff over here that I didn't do. Preview.js. We'll see. It's an extension that I am checking out and see what it does. It's like live previews of like the code you're looking at. Okay, I just have one more thing to set up before we get going. And I'm in a bit of a pit of despair today because what is going on? Everything is broken on my machine. Maybe I should have just restarted. I should probably just restart my machine. That's the one thing I didn't try. But we're going to have to wait a couple hours, or I'm going to have to wait a couple hours before I do that. Okay, this is now working as I needed. And just to give you an idea of what I was doing, I needed my little command terminal in place so I could run npm run dev so that will run our npm development command, which is Vite. And Vite's going to take its sweet time today because why not? And it wants to do something. There you go. Okay, so with that in place, we can go to localhost 3000. That's going to spin up our Vite app, which is a little Pokemon battle scene generator that we've been working on. So what we did in the last stream was a bit of refactoring work. We had this big app that a lot of it was kind of put together, essentially all of it into one giant component. And what I've been walking through is how I'm splitting that up into multiple components. So we don't need main.js. It was basically this giant app.vue file, inside of which we had a whole bunch of logic and a whole bunch of templating. So we've got this form with a bunch of inputs in it. And one thing that we did in an episode was change this form to have like 3 different sections, essentially. The first section being the scene, so you can change a little bit of like the width or the height of this sort of scene, generated scene, or, you know, the location, or, all right, that part's still broken right now, or the time of day. The second tab lets you make some changes about the Pokemon that you're fighting. And the last tab lets you make changes about you or the trainer. So you can say Austin, and you can modify the health bar, and it's cool. So where did we get to in the last stream? Was we started taking each of these 3 tabs and presenting those as a good opportunity to abstract each of the tab content into its own component. So this being its own component, this being its own component, and the scene being its own component. And I think that we may have a little bit of a bug. Trainer health, yeah, that's all fine. We have a bug with our little select input. And the select coming from the settings scene. So if we look at this first tab for the scene, we have these settings here with a preset, the width, the height, the location, and the time of day. And that's I think as much as I would need in that component, it's not super complicated. Once we've taken all of this logic out of the app.view and brought it in here, it's pretty simple. You have just the contents of that form with the preset, the width, the height, the location, and the time of day. And yeah, I think we had, what was it? We had one little bug in our selects, and that has to do with the library that we're using, not our app itself. So let's see. Failed setting prop type on select. Value select is invalid. Type and set property type. Cannot set property type of HTML select element, which has only a getter. I'm not sure. B input label type equals select. Boom, boom, boom. Still best Vue library out there. I don't know about all that. It kind of depends what you're looking for. But I do appreciate you standing in my corner. That's awesome. So yeah, I think I will have to debug that. I think maybe in another episode we might like look into that. But there's definitely some things here that should not, like, are getting rendered into the HTML that should not be here. For example, the label and the type and the class do not need to be on any of these options. The options really only need checked value or checked and value. So we'll look at that someday. But what do we have here? So I'm going to look at, I think the easiest way for me to debug this in an app, see how it was working before, and see what we have changed. So on this time of day, I had this update function here. I think everything else is the same, but because of that little bug, we had this special handler for these selects. So we've got the model. So the data is coming down just fine, I think. If I restart, the data starts as grass and time of day is day. I think that's coming in. Is this live? I mean, maybe. Or maybe it was just a really, really good pre-recorded thing. You'll have to find out, I guess. Maybe ask some more questions. So what do we got here? So yeah, to fix this is essentially a patch in yeah, it's live, yes. So essentially what we have is a bug in a library that we're depending on, and we're going to do a patch in our application in which we're consuming that library. So it seems like the data or the value is being passed into the select dropdowns just fine, but when the select input changes, that change event is not being propagated to the data correctly. This is a library that I wrote, so that's a bug fix I'm going to have to track down. But for the time being, what we're going to do is add this change event listener to the two input events. And I think for now, we're going to say update data. No, we're going to like emit. And then we need to pass the name of the event that we want to emit. So we're going to do a custom event. Okay, and that's we're going to call it update, I think. Keeping in mind that update is not a DOM, like an official DOM event. So the browser or JavaScript in the DOM doesn't know what update is. This is a custom name that we're using in our application. That way we don't have conflict between something like an existing event name, like change, click, submit, key up, key down, whatever. We want something that is not going to conflict with any of those. So we're going to say update. And then we're just going to pass up the event. So this will emit. It's going to be update the event. In order to have a event named update, we need to actually define it. So this emit is going to define two named events. One is select preset, one is update. Now that we have that, we can go to our app where we are implementing that component, where we have one event listener called select preset, or listening to select preset. And then we have this other one that's going to say at update is going to just do something. So for now, let's just pass that to a function called log. Log is defined here. Log is just assigned to console log. The reason we have to do that is because in this template in Vue, Vue's template is not aware of some of the global JavaScript. I guess it's not JavaScript. You can use JavaScript fine, but technically console is part of the DOM. It's not part of the JavaScript programming language. So it's available only in the browser, right? Or in Node if it's implemented. All this to say that in order to log from in here, we just have to define our function and we can just assign that to console log. So let's see what we've got. If I clear this out and I make a change here, the change event is going to trigger, which is going to emit our custom update event, which is going to pass the value or pass the payload. Where am I? It's going to pass this payload to the update event handler. Now, this payload is the $ event. It's a special keyword that Vue gives to us, which provides access to the event object. So that's what we get here. And the only thing we need to do now is, let's see, I think we had a function here. Yeah, that would update data. Oops, I accidentally deleted that. So we're going to uncomment that. And what update data does is it takes an event object, and it's going to grab the input from that event, the name from the input, and the type from that input as well. So because we are here, I guess that's expecting the type would be undefined. So the target would be that select object. The name would come from the name that we've given this select, which here is location. And then we wouldn't get anything for the type. We can assume that data, as long as our reactive data object has that property, so in our case, location and time of day are the two that we're interested in, then we'll get the value from our input, or in this case, the location select. We don't have to worry about the type because it won't be a type of number because it is a select tag. And then it will update that data. So presumably this should work. If we say that when our select inputs emit our update event, we can pass that event object to update data. And I believe this should work. So let me reload and change grass to sand. And sure enough, we can see that our application responded accordingly. We can see that our data changed to sand. So mountain, water, perfect. Our little bug fix, our little patch is working. Hopefully I can get that, I can get the select inputs fixed so that we don't have to do this little change event listener, because that is definitely a little patch. Okay. With that out of the way, I think this is done, right? Because we've got the presets working. If I go to extra small, we've got our extra small size. If I go to large, we've got the super large size. And And then if I change the width to something like 300, okay, we have a little bit of a bug there. If I change that to 300 and then I change, I think what I want is, I mean, technically everything is working as intended, but this should rewrite itself to be 600 because 600 is the smallest value that we want to allow here. So that is something that I broke. Let's see. I think in app we have display size. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here is add a couple little functions here, there and there, that say at change equals use min or use min max, sure. And that means I need to write a new function called use min max. So where are we? We've got our emits. I'm going to use one here called, or define a function called use min max, which is going to take an event and is basically going to, this might get interesting. This might get interesting, and it's a good opportunity for a tricky bug to fix. So what have we got? So we basically want to take on this event, when this input changes, we want to rewrite it to a value that aligns with the minimum. So what we can do is say const input equals event.target. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. I don't want this or this. I don't need the name. I don't think I need the type. It wrote a lot of stuff for me. If input min value math max, okay. This looks kind of right. And then basically what I want to do is say that the input dot value equals the minimum or the maximum. So what we're doing is we're grabbing the input, we're grabbing the value off that. We are changing that to a number, and hold on, something was in there. It was right. There we go. Use min max. We need the input type, and then if the type is not number, we can exit early. If it is number, then we want to check if there's a min value and a max value. And if so, we want to, on change, reassign the value of those to their corresponding min and max based on the HTML attributes. So if I got this right, we are going to change this to 300 and then leave the input, and we didn't get it right. So what happened there? I want this. If I go down, I can't go down. If I go up, it's going to change it to 600 as expected, because that's what the that's what a number input with a min value will do in the browser. Okay. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, I think the problem is this is the problem. we don't actually want to be using vModel here, because vModel vModel will update this state no matter what. No, what do I want? Ooh, this is a challenge. I think I had it working. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to return app.view to its previous state and see if I had it working right in the first place. So coming here, if I change this to 300 and then leave, it does change back to 600, which is the ideal behavior. And the way we're doing that is at change update data. Okay, I think I have this right then. We do want to do the vModel, but then we have to add that vmax or that change event listener. Except instead of use min max, what I'm going to do, where is it? Don't have that anyway. I'm going to emit. Can I revert my revert? I mean, with Git, technically yes, although I think I just did, because what I had was I had saved everything to my, or copied everything to my clipboard and then reverted my changes. And then once I had gotten the information I needed, I just highlighted everything and pasted the reverted revert, if that makes sense. Or like the ideal, the newer version where we have this settings scene component. This is getting gnarly here too. For a refactor, we really ought to make this all look good. There we go. Okay, so what we've got, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to work a little fast here because I feel like I'm getting in my own way. So right, what I want to do. That was a good question. What I want to do is basically trigger this update again. So on change, I want to update. I want to emit. That's it. Emit the update event with the event value. So this would then. This is not in the right spot. There we go. Oh shoot, I broke everything. At change, okay, select preset on the presets. That's right. Here we go. So what I had in the previous version was a change event listener that I accidentally removed, or I didn't accidentally remove. I thought we didn't need it. But the problem is we need to do the binding on the width and the height because we want that data to update as the user changes things. So as I click up or down, we want this state to match that. And if I change that to 300, we want it to also match 300. But then, see, it's working now. Then when the user when the user leaves focus, so when we step out of that, for some reason, it looked like it was working a second ago. When the user steps out of that, we want to leave and we want to trigger a change event so that we end up essentially triggering another update or another event update, right? And then our update event handler is being handled here by update data, which was the function that would take an event, grab the input from it, grab the name and the type, and then it'll say things like, if it's a type of number, we'll set the min and max. This, we have the min. We should probably do the same with the max. So if the input has a max value, max, then the value should be the minimum between the current value and the input max. Now, it's important to keep in mind that input max here is the type of string. So the reason why that's important is, one, you have to convert it to a number if you're going to use math max. Actually, you technically don't, but I think this is going to complain to me. No? Yeah, it's going to complain at me because it's going to say, hey, this is a type of string. You can't use math max with a string, which is not true because it would actually convert it to a number itself. This is fine. But the reason why it's important to keep in mind that this is a string is because a string, the string 0 is different than the number 0. And if we put, if we're doing a check, an if statement with a number, and that number is 0, that's going to be a falsy value. So this if block would never run. But for things like the number 0, if the minimum is 0, we actually do want this to run. So this is okay that this is a string, because if it's a string of 0, we're just checking a string of 0 is truthy, so this block will run. I hope that makes sense. A string of 0 has a length of 1. Maybe that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Let me log it here. Is I guess Boolean conversion of 0 is false. Boolean conversion of the string 0 is true. So hopefully that makes sense. And when you read the HTML attributes from the input, it will return a string. So if the min or the max is set to 0, it'll be a string of 0, which is a truthy value. Cool. Okay, next thing's next. I think that actually fixed our problem. So we've got the width is working, the height should be working. If I do this to 100, it updates correctly. And then if we leave, it updates correctly again. Water, mountain, looks like it's working. Time of day, looks like it's working. Great. So let's see. Let's refactor the next part, right? I'd say that component is done. The next one is this section in this opponent panel. So we're going to cut all of this, replace it with settings opponent, right? We'll hit save. I wonder if that's actually defined anywhere. But we need this settings opponent file. It's going to have a template. Oh, come on. Template, inside of which we're going to have this field set. Looks good so far. And then we're going to comment out everything until we build it back in one at a time. So that way everything is working. In app, I believe settings opponent is not defined. So we'll come back up here where we have the scene. We're going to switch that with opponent. Now everything should be hooked up in my opponent. Don't see it. I should see the text opponent. Failed to resolve component. Settings opponent. Interesting. Settings opponent. Did I? Oh. Let's see. Copy that. Paste it there. It's spelled correctly. It's in the right location. And it's spelled correctly here. Okay, looks like it's working now. I think maybe my computer Vite was just reloading slowly. So everything is right in place. Our settings opponent now is going to have this thing. So we need the list of Pokemon for the opponents. So the nice thing is that up here, where we're pulling in the list of Pokemon, we have two options. We can either pull this list of Pokemon into the app component and then provide it to our opponent component through a prop, or we can just pull it directly into the opponent component. Now, because we are not using that list of Pokemon anywhere else that I can think of, well, I guess we would see here, right? It looks like we are using the Pokemon list. And then we're getting the random Pokemon. And I'm taking the Pokemon list is what I want. Pokemon list is an array. Okay. So we are definitely using that in other places because that's how we are grabbing the randomly generated Pokemon to begin with. Anywhere else that I'm using Pokemon list? Pokemon list, yep, when we set the opponent, which that functionality is going to come into our settings component anyway. And when we change a file, which is also going to migrate. So what do I do? I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to pull... I mean, that really could live in its own data file. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the Pokemon list.js file here. We're going to take this list and move it into Pokemon list.js, which means the Pokemon data file can come out, and it's going to be used up here. And then we can export default is the Pokemon list. Cool. Now that I have that data abstracted, it can be used all over, which means I can import Pokemon list from Pokemon list.js. That should be just an array. I think that should be fine. So that lets us pre-populate a random Pokemon just fine. And then the Pokemon list shouldn't be used anywhere else really in this file, but we will need it in this file, in our settings opponent. So we're going to do a script tag. We're going to import Pokemon list from, and then we'll go up to data/Pokemon list.js. And then let's see, all of the methods that we're using from the opponent's stuff comes here. We move those functions over here. And then we have access to Pokemon list. Yeah, looks good. And then random Pokemon number. The random Pokemon number. Okay, my preset. I'm going to have to... Let me see. Getting a little bit moving around a little too much at once. Okay, let's see here. Where was I? My Pokemon list. Right, okay. So all I'm trying to do, I'm going to get rid of this value here to see if I can just make the assumption that this is working. Looks like, what have we got? Pokemon list.js. Failed to import Pokemon JSON from data Pokemon list.js. Does the file exist? And it should exist because Pokemon list is right next to Pokemon JSON. Shouldn't be data. It should be ./Pokemon.json. Okay, that should fix that. Now let's see what we've got. Cannot read properties of undefined reading map in settings opponent JSON. Okay. Let's save that. Let's come back here. Settings opponent JSON. So Pokemon list. I should be able to import that. That should be defined. Let's comment that out. Let's bring this Pokemon list in here and just drop it onto the page. Cannot find name Pokemon list. Interesting. It's right there. Oh, that's the problem. Okay. Because we were not using a setup function, we would have had to do this traditional Vue way. And here, just remembering to make this a script setup should mean that when we define variables in this script tag, they are available in our template. There you go. Look at my opponent tree. There's all my Pokemon list. Perfect. Pokemon list is now defined, which means we can uncomment that. And we should be able to see the list of all the Pokemon, which we do. That's great. And then we need to set the pre-selected Pokemon, which is here. So how do I get this Pokemon number? Well, I've got this random Pokemon. If I look here, okay, it's a random Pokemon number. So what I need to do is build the relationship between the settings, like the opponent component, and the app level data. And the way we do that, once again, is with props and events. So the props go from the app down to this component. So I need to use I think what I need to do, I guess I could do data and just pass the data down. It's kind of cheating again, but let's try with that. Oops. Let's start with passing data down, which means I need to explicitly say that I'm expecting data. So if const props equals define props, The props that I'm expecting, one of them is data. This is a type of object. And it is required. Required true. So once I have data, once I have the data, okay, I think that means that I will have in app, we are setting, we're not setting the random Pokemon. We're using the Pokemon name, and we've got the random Pokemon number as the initial state of the application, but we're not binding to that. Okay, I think the way to do this is, at least what I'm going to begin with, is not this data props. I'm going to set the pre-selected Pokemon. No. Thank you. Pre-selected Pokemon num, which is type is number, default is null. And then we're going to say that, get rid of that. The initial value here is going to be this pre-selected Pokemon num. Going to copy all that, and I'm going to delete that. This is actually going to be props.preselected Pokemon num. And then I'm going to pass that down as a prop here. So pre-selected Pokemon num is equal to random Pokemon.num. That should set our default, which means if I go to my app here, I should be able to log this out and see a different number every time I load the page. Opponent, there's 164. There's 93. Looks like we are getting that correctly. And now we just need to now we just need to actually update it when that changes. Okay. So we have this function called setOpponent. And we're using that here. And I think here we're expecting data, which means here we should be able to just use props.data. Boop, boop, boop. Props.data. So let's hope that that works correctly. When I reload, I get my default victory bell. Yeah. If I change it to Menki, we get some error. Cannot set properties setting opponent name. It's because I'm missing the one important thing. Got the pre-selected thing, but we need to pass our data as well. Now data should be defined in our component. C dot. I think we're not changing that correctly. Opponent name. What is going on there? Okay. Looks like it's working now. Jigglypuff, Raichu. Raichu is changing correctly. Great. Now the other missing component, I guess, is the other inputs here. So we're going to say we've got the sprite is on file change. We've got the opponent name. We've got the opponent health. So let's see if this is all working correctly. As long as I change this data. To props.data. This is weird. I don't know if I like this approach that I took with passing around the entire state of the application as props, but we'll see. So let's go opponent. We've got the opponent name is Metapod. And if we change that, we can see that it's working correctly in the top right there. So that is bound correctly. If we change the opponent health, that looks like it's working correctly. If we choose a file, we can see that something broke. Okay. So just the file is not working correctly. JS wins again. Yeah, you know, one thing at a time. We're going with this. Okay, so just the file is broken. So on file change, what is the problem? It looks like, okay, when the file changes, right, we've got that down here on this file input, and we're listening to the change event, assigning that to a function called onFileChange. It receives the event. We grab the files from the event target files. If assuming the files have a length, we grab the first one. We get the name. We get the name of the file without the suffix. We create a file reader instance. We define the onload event for that file reader instance, which will take, we'll set the props.data. So what is the thing that's missing here? Random file. This gets a random cry, yeah. Let's say random Pokenum is the actual definition of what that is. We create a new audio element. We grab the source, or we assign the source to that. We play it. So all of this should work. And in fact, if I do change this, we can see, where is it? The opponent URL here. If I change this to JavaScript, we do see the opponent URL change to a base64 encoded. Oh, you know what? It actually is working, but because I'm rendering it to the DOM, this is just pushing it way the hell out here. Ha! See that? It's not broken. It's a bug. It's a feature, not a bug. It just pushes it way the hell out there. So that's all working. Great. I'm happy. JS does not win. I got this round on JS. Okay, cool. Settings opponent is working. Let's move on to the trainer. So back in app, we can say, yeah, this is such a weird way of doing it because I'm passing down reactive data, which is funky. I don't know if I would recommend this. This feels like something that is a convenient solution today. Because what's better or a different way to do it? Yeah, this is a good question. So what I've got is an object. And traditionally, when you have an object, you have a key value pair. Like the properties are key value pairs, right? And you can manipulate data on that object. You can take the key 1 and change the value to value 5, right? When you do that, JavaScript doesn't know, it's not watching for those changes and triggering some sort of functionality in response. In order to see those changes, usually you have to then read from the object again. So let me depict this. If I say var o equals, and we'll say key is 1, right? If I go to that object, I can change the key to equal 2. But there is no way for JavaScript to trigger a change on that, trigger some sort of functional update on that key change. The only way to know that something changed is to say, hey, o.key, what are you again? Oh, yeah, you're set to 2. Okay. What Vue gives us is sort of a magical object. It gives us a reactive object, which is what we've defined in app, in our app sort of global state right now. We have this reactive data. And instead of having a normal object, we have this sort of magical object that when you make changes here, other parts of the application will update automatically, which is magical and fancy and very, very handy for building UIs that are a little bit more reactive. The reason why this makes me feel like it's a problem is because I'm passing this object around and throwing it all over my application, which means components that are in completely separate areas can update the same object and affect one another. Now, is that a problem? I don't know. In some cases it is, in some cases it isn't. It's hard to say. But the alternative would be that instead of passing the reactive object down, yo, Melody, what's going on? I was expecting to stop by and raid you later. Isn't this normally the time you're on? Anyway, what I was saying is a way to a more traditional way of dealing with reactivity is to keep the state in one area and sort of pass the data from that state down, but then have listeners. So you have these event listeners or these custom event listeners that listen for changes and then update the state in one place. Take Wednesdays off. Yeah, the stream's going on. You know what? While you're here, you've been let me turn this music down because this is going to be worth it. You've been asking about how the stream is going, and I've been trying to explain to you what I've been building. So let me show it really quick. I've got to hide this. And then this is what I am building. So a little bit of background. Little bit of background. If we go to Twitter and I go to my profile, I always thought it would be really cool if when someone goes to my profile, it kind of looks like a Pokemon battle scene. So you have like whatever little Pokemon up here, maybe some status bars. And then because Twitter has this UI where your avatar kind of floats over the banner image, it's like it kind of looks like a Pokemon scene. So I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you could just build something that like you can generate your own custom battle scenes? So that's what we're working on. We're doing it in Vue. And what you can do is you can update the width of the banner. You can update the height of the banner. You can, yeah, it's kind of fun, right? You can update like the areas. And let's see, I want to go into, what's a cool one? I think the water, and then you can update the time of day. So you can go during the day or in the afternoon or at night. I really love the night ones probably because purple is my favorite color. And then you can go, let's see, you can go to the opponent and you can make some changes to them. So you can pick from all of these Pokemon that you may want to fight. And then, oh gosh, this is so cool. Hold on. me turn, what do I have to turn down? No, I want to turn my music up. That's the problem. I need to pause this, and then I turn my volume all the way up. And then this is so ridiculous. But if you change the Pokemon, we have the sound effects for each, like their actual cries. It's pretty fun. And then I was like, well, we could do something even cooler, because ultimately, like, yeah, making a Pokemon battle scene is kind of cool, but I actually really wanted to build, I mean, I accomplished what I wanted to build. I wanted to build something that makes this. But yeah, if you could like drag your own files, right? So there's this file input that we've got, and you can pick a file, and then it'll just randomly select like any random Pokemon cry and play it for you with whatever the file is. And then you can say, I want this to be called JS, and it updates the UI right there. And then you can say, well, I want to be kicking JS's butt, so its health is down there. And then there's the trainer. I can say that this is Austin, or this is Melody. And Melody has taken a couple hits, but still going strong. Or I can say something like a text input and say, like, Melody is kicking butt, like that. Oh yeah, the sounds are good. And there's one more thing. So once you're done, you can be like, let me generate this banner, and it does the Poke Center sound effects, and you can download it, and it's fun. It's goofy and cheesy, but it was a fun project. And now we're kind of at the functional finishing point. But we made a lot of kind of ugly code along the way. So now we're kind of going through and cleaning it up and refactoring things to be a little bit more maintainable or better. So yeah, that's what I'm working on today. You want that on your Twitter? It's going to be the next Twitter craze. I don't know about that, maybe. But I was thinking, it would be a really cool thing to do. Twitter has an API. So I definitely don't know about that, but we'll see. But Twitter has an API. So you know what? This kind of bothers me, actually. Well, we're not getting into design. I want to do design soon. But Twitter has this API, and you could theoretically generate this image and then connect with the Twitter API and do like, sign into my Twitter account and have it go and update your banner image for you. And that would make it a lot easier, because then you don't have to do the like download and then go to Twitter and upload it. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's kind of the idea. So I think today we're going to keep doing some refactoring, and then over the next few streams, we'll get into some of the design stuff. So I might look at some of the tools that I use for design, because this, believe it or not, this is mostly unstyled. There's a little bit of layout stuff, but I mostly haven't had to write any CSS. And I would like to do a little bit more to make it something that's actually like cool. So yeah, that's what I got. And I think, you got any questions? Anything that we want to look at before I jump back into some code stuff? Yeah, if you want to share it, if I'm trying to get more people on the stream, so if you want to share it, I would really love that. But I also know 100 devs, man. Leon is like, I was on there the other day. He had like 3,000 people at the same time. He just hosted me. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. But Leon had like 3,000 people. I was trying to keep track of the chats, and it's just going off. Like you can't even read it, because there's just so much blah 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 blah. It's wild. And also hosting. I need to figure out how to host people. Yeah, because he does what, Tuesdays? What is his schedule? I know he was on yesterday, and maybe he's on tomorrow as well. It was cool. I think. Are you all familiar with Reddit's like r slash the subreddit place? Like, I'm not going to go to it, but yeah, there was a fun. Uh, he's on every day. Man, he's a machine. I think it's really cool what he's doing too. Like giving out some valuable lessons to people getting involved in the industry. I think it's awesome. Very welcoming community as well. All right. I'm going to get back into refactoring some stuff. So we refactored the scene. Yeah, yeah. The our place stuff was wild that he got on there. There were so many people. I just learned about that after it was done, but it's it's bizarre. I watched like a time lapse of all of the pixels changing and how people coordinated all that. It's a really fascinating social experiment, to be sure. All right, so where were we? I think the thing that I really need is music again. Now that we're not showing off to melody, all the sweet sound effects. Let's get this back here. Okay. And we have refactored the scene section. We've refactored the opponent section. Now we have to do the trainer section. And I think with that all finished, this this app, like top level, oh my gosh, you're playing Elden Ring? Wait, are you playing or are you watching? You got to hang out for just a minute because I got some questions for you. I've started playing that. I'm like 11 hours in and I'm barely past like the first sort of section. I spent so much time just looking around every single nook and cranny, and I'm not very good at it. I get killed a lot. It's really difficult. But what is your like character that you're building or going for? I went samurai. You're still in the first area. It's so hard. It really is. I like don't even want to go into any caves because I'm just gonna get killed. But it's a fun game. It's fun. It's the most fun I've had just getting my butt kicked. So a faith based one. Is it like magic or is it a little bit of fighting as well? Fighting because you're karate chopping everyone. Like the what are they? They had the what were the names? They're like apostle or something. I don't remember. But Faith supposed to be fun. I think no matter what you go with, it's just going to be a difficult game. Unfortunately, it really puts my ego in check. Okay, I'll let you go. Go have fun and play. But we should definitely talk about it sometime. There's a couple other people on Twitter. Corey Cooper, I want to say. Some guy from Australia. He's all about Elden Ring too. So I was like messaging him the other day. It's fun. Okay, let's do this. Let's get back on track. Kotin is getting upset at me for Confessor. Yes, the Confessor was the one I was originally going to start with, but I went Samurai. Yeah, if you think JS kicks your butt, just try playing Elden Ring. Yeah, the Confessor seems like a cool one. My buddy did that and build like a paladin style class thing. Man, it's fun, but it's so hard and stressful. Like every new enemy that you see in the distance, you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna go around that. The katanas are pretty great, but you know what? I'm kind of disappointed because I want to start doing magic, and I found like a wand, a glintstone wand thing, but I can't use it because I'm not intelligent enough. Yeah, Confessor seems pretty good. Plus, you have the shield, which is pretty strong, and you can pick up a katana eventually. Anyway, I think the challenge there is Like confessors are kind of more strength focused and samurai are more dexterity focused. I gotta say, the bow and arrow is clutch because you can shoot people from far. Like if there's a big group of people, you can shoot one and that one just comes to fight you and you just take them on one at a time. But anyway, it's a fun game. We'll talk about it. Maybe we should build a JavaScript Elden Ring mashup something, sort of like this Pokemon thing. Okay, where was I? The trainer. Settings, trainer. And we'll move this code over there. I have nothing long range. Yeah, well, I mean, a fireball, if you can do some range though, I think I don't think you'll do a lot of damage, but even like the samurai bow and arrow is not a lot of damage. But I think the biggest advantage is being able to just pull someone towards you so you can kind of get them into a more advantageous little area. Especially because if you die, you oh geez, someone else just joined the stream and now I don't know. We're talking Elden Ring. We're writing JavaScript and talking Elden Ring. But how if you die, you have to like go and collect your runes again. That's one thing that I think the bow and arrow is good for, or any sort of range is good for, because then you can pull someone to an area that is like easier to get to if you die. I'm such a baby when it comes to that game. Such a wimp. Okay, so we've got this view thing. Melody, you need to switch your stream. Well, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but you should bring in some Elden Ring into your stream. That would be enjoyable. I'd watch it. I mean, I watch it anyway, so guess it doesn't make much difference. Okay, settings, trainer. Let's go. Let's do this. We've got our code. We've got the trainer component. Did I pull that in or did it do that automatically? I think it did that automatically. That's cool. And then let's see. Let's see, we finished the opponent. We don't need this Pokemon list. We don't need the CSS. Okay. No, you should have been on yesterday. We had like 5 people that were it almost felt like the intention was to distract me. And everyone was successful besides me. So it's totally fine. That's what I want this show to be. Come on, ask some questions. Let's hang out. Let's have fun. But since you're going to go have more fun playing Elden Ring, you have a good time. I'll be on Friday if you want to stop by. And until then, ciao. All right. We are doing the trainer settings here. We are breaking the app. We are reloading the app. And we're breaking the app. Settings trainer, Vue.js. That's because that is trying to do a .vue.js file, which is not a real thing. We'll reload that, fix the application. It still thinks that file is there because for some reason Vite is going super slow today. Let's cancel it. There we go. All right, so we've got the scene, we've got the opponent, we've got the trainer. Our component is there. We have verified. That's great. Now we can rebuild the data here. So I think I'm going to need to define a script tag. But then what do we need in our script tag so that we don't mess up like last time? You tell me. What do we got? I feel like at this point you could drive the ship, and I trust you. Oh no. This song is called Chicken Noodle Soup, and I'm all about it. Setup. That's right. Good job. You're on it. We want that setup. Let me show you. Okay, let me show you what this setup does, because if you're not familiar with Vue, that's kind of like a magic thing in a Vue file, which, if you're not familiar, makes no sense. When you define a Vue component or a component in a JavaScript file, you have to export a default object. And that's what sort of makes, this is like the object definition that Vue uses to create the component, what the library uses under the hood. Now, in your default object that you set up or that you create, currently the Vue library supports two different sort of syntaxes. One is the options API, one is the composition API. And if you're doing the composition API, you need a function or a method on this object called setup, which takes a certain number of parameters, but then you do some stuff like const a equals 1, and then you return an object that has like a on it, and then maybe like b assigned to 4, right? And then these properties, I think it's quite different actually between Vue and React. But this setup function is what they introduced for the composition API, where you return an object, and then in that object, or whatever you return there, is available in your template. I think, if I got that right, we're saying parsing error, unexpected token. That doesn't look quite right. I think that should be, yeah, okay. So we did get it right, right? We're trainer, we're getting A, which is 1. If we put this with B, that should be 4. Yep, there it is. So that is the less magical way of creating a setup function. And then Svelte came along and they said, hey, we're going to do some magic in our components, and we're just going to say, if you want to reference a variable in your template, all you have to do is say const b equals 4, right? And then there's some compilation magic that happens in Svelte that takes this b and the value and makes it available in your template. So then the Vue team said, hey, that's a really good idea. We want to borrow that. But because of how the library was originally written, they couldn't really do that and maintain backwards compatibility. So what they did was they said, well, what if we just say, if you include this setup keyword, then we can do some of the similar Svelte compilation step magic. And now it works very much like Svelte. So if I go, was it trainer? Yep, there it is. I'm getting the value of my referenced variable. So is that similar or different than React? Or how is that similar or different than React? In React, you'll generally have, I guess maybe kind of similar to what you're thinking is React would have like export default is a component. And inside of that component, you would return something like some JSX, right? So P is hello, something like that, right? And then in here, inside of this component, or inside of this function definition in the body of the function, you can say like const b equals 4, similar to what we had. And then you can reference that in your template inside of curly braces, I believe. So that then, yeah, your variable that you would define here can then go right in there. And React has the least magic going on because it's mostly just JavaScript. There is this kind of magic around JSX. But yeah, I just thought I would take a little aside there and explain what this setup function is and why it's important. So now that we have that in place, let's see. We have to go back to our, what do I want? I want to get this input working again. So this input is expecting to use the reactive data for the trainer, and then reassign that. This is a radio input, right? So in order to get that reactive data, is a setup relatively new addition to Vue? Yeah. I mean, it was announced. I mean, technically, it's part of Vue 3. They made some plugins for Vue 2 that made it available that you could use the composition API within Vue 2. But yeah, I mean, it's officially part of the Vue 3 library. And I think going forward, we'll probably see the Vue ecosystem transition to using the setup function more often, for a number of reasons. Mostly because of the fad, because it's the new hotness. But we'll see. Okay, so right, what I need is, because I'm expecting to use this data, the reactive data from our app, we need to actually pass that data here down into that component. So where we have this settings trainer, we're going to say, hey, we're going to give you a prop of data and assign it to the value of data. And that is halfway there. The other half is telling our component to receive that data. So we do that with define props, or we're going to say const props equals define props. And what are we expecting? It's an object where data is the name of the prop, and it has a type of object, and we're going to say that it is required. Okay, so now that we have this data, where we're using it, we can say props.data, and that may be it, because we're just using data. So we have to set all of these from data to props.data. We've got a little dangling comment there that we can get rid of. And that may be all we need for this component. Read property, reading trainer box. Okay. We go to trainer. If we change that to text, it looks like this is working. It looks like this is working. We change it back to status. We change our trainer information, and we change that to code thin. Code, where's that H? There we go. Code thin, once again, kicking butt. The opponent, not doing so hot, looking good. Everything is working. That was the simplest refactor that we've had to do. Camera's having some more issues, but that was the simplest refactor and the simplest component. So as we can see, this component is pretty easy to reason about. We have some props, it expects the data, and then it just does its thing with the data. So that feels pretty good. We'll get rid of that. Let's now look at our app component. So we still have kind of a lot going on here. We're getting our random Pokemon. We're doing some stuff with the query, and we need to do the stuff with the query so that when we reload, we probably want to do this. We may not need to do this at the app level, actually, because right now, the only thing that the query is concerned about is the location and the time of day. So let's see. No, I guess we do want to grab that information here. Yep, that's good. And then we've got our app level data. We've got a convenience function for updating the data. And then, okay, we've got the display size here. Yo! What is going on? Oh gosh, Tony Eagle, one more time. Here we go. Here comes the drama. What's up, y'all? Oh, happy to have you. Dang. Yo, what's going on? Walton Rye? Yeah, Kotin knows what's up. Rowdy Raid time. This is the Brent is the Rowdy Raid party. The Rowdy Raid leader. I got to come up with there's got to be some sort of nickname for people that just bring the rowdiness. no. Code Stony Eagle, you're here. It's just not the same without you, you know? Yeah, so we did some read factors. Thank goodness I got through most of them before y'all showed up. Otherwise, all the distractions would have been too much. But what did we do? We finished the refactors for the scene. We finished the refactors for the opponent section. We finished the refactor for the trainer section just a moment ago. And then we are looking at... Go. There we go. We're looking at how the app looks kind of before and after. It used to be several hundred lines. Now it's just under, about 150. And the logic, I think, is a lot more easy to reason about. We set up essentially the app level state management or reactive data. We have one function that takes input events and updates the data appropriately. And then we've got this display size, which I'm not sure how I feel about, because we're really only dealing with it here. So, this almost feels like it should go into this logic should go into this component because it's not being used anywhere else. So let's look at doing that. Let's take that out of here. Let's open up the preview. And right now, what the app preview does, it takes a width and a height, and it does some computed stuff. And then it's a pretty dumb component that mostly is interested in laying things out, but not actually doing a whole bunch of work. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to move that here, where display size is a computed value between the props width and the props dot height, which means because those are being passed in as width and height, I think in my app, we're passing that data in there. So we don't need this width and height to explicitly be defined because we are passing that in from here, from the data. So let's see. If I change my width and height, will it change? It looks like it does. It looks like that does. If I go to something that's too small, that's the problem. Oh, no, that's not the problem. That was working fine. I just need to actually use display size. So we've got the width and height. Right now, we're binding the width and height to come in from the props. But if the props come in as a value that's too small or smaller than we want, have I added my function ending declarators yet? My function ending declarators. You're going to have to elaborate on that one, brother or sister. I actually don't know if you're a brother or a sister. So if I go down to 60, perfect. AKA, God damn it. Why? How do you mute someone? Oh, yeah. I have not added semicolons, brota. I don't need to because my compiler is going to add them for me, or the language will add them for me. Okay, let me ask you this. How long have you been programming? Because I feel like that is a pedantic opinion of someone that has been around for a while. Like, that's not No one's going to come out of boot camp and be like, yo, semicolons or no semicolons, and then rag you on whatever your answer is. I can lint in, you learned that you can lint in repos. Repos, like if I go to like a GitHub repo, C and PHP, they're required. Yeah, but see, that's the beautiful thing about JavaScript. You can just get like, you can do whatever you want. Your imagination can run wild. It's normal to enforce them. Yeah, I mean, there's things like, what is it? I think ESLint will enforce certain things. And I forget what their default value is. In fact, I have an ESLint file here. Let's see. I guess I don't actually have any preferences over semicolons. I don't have any preferences over semicolons. Remove all your line breaks. Yeah, that's how you know when you're dealing with a real expert developer. I actually, I only write my variable names this long because for the streams, but normally this would be something like random Pokemon, right? I mean, even 2 letters is a bit excessive. That's only if I'm feeling fancy. 1 letter, I keep my variables to 26 or actually 52 variables per application. That's all I need. Because, you know, got uppercase and lowercase. Brent knows what's up. All right, so where are we? We are refactoring this thing. Gosh, I knew it. I knew you guys were going to show up. I knew it was going to be a distraction, and I was even trying to prepare myself not to be so distracted today. And here we are. Okay. Right. We were evaluating the work that was done on the app and how we've simplified the code so that all the logic pertaining to the app is just in this file, and anywhere that we've been able to abstract to different components, we have done so. Thank you, Kotin. Kotin's in here from the start. He's been a little angel. Mwah. No distractions, just positive vibes and thoughtful comments. Yeah, the professionals dropped by. Here we go. Why don't you? Hey, are your arms long enough to reach around and pat yourself on the back? Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so yes, we were looking at the application. We thought, where are the most logical places to create barriers or boundaries for component logic? We decided that because we have these 3 sections, those can all 3 be part of, you know, the larger application. So we've got one for the scene settings, one for the opponent settings, one for the trainer settings. We've abstracted that. We also have one section over here for the actual preview. And if we look at our code now, we can see that our app is broken into, let's see, we've got our form, we've got some tabs. We've got the 1 tab for our settings. We've got the 1 tab for our opponent. We've got the 1 tab for our trainer. And then we've got the section for our app preview. I think we're still doing something kind of funny with this icon, this user icon, which I think is nice to have because it kind of represents this like Twitter thing that we're trying to rebuild. So the question there for me becomes, does that become part of the app or does that become part of the preview? Right now, it's part of the app. Well, I don't think there's a right or wrong. That is currently there as part of like an iterative step. Let's see. Ooh, we've got the battle music. I really would like to get that battle music playing like when you start the app, or maybe we could do like click anywhere to start a Pokemon battle. But I'm going to take that out for now. Okay, so what have we got? What else do we have here? Let's see. We've got the preview ref. I don't know if we even... Do we need this? I don't think we even need this ref preview anymore. That may have been left over from a previous version. The Pokemon Center music, we probably want to only set up once, and then anytime someone clicks the submit button, we generate the, we play the Pokemon music and we generate the file. That's fine at this level because this level contains the form. We could even abstract that to say that we'll build a component for the entire form that does that logic. And then within that form, we have these settings and this opponent and this trainer. I think that's probably a good idea, right? So let's take that. We're going to take that code. I'm going to cut that out, and we're going to say this is the settings form. And we'll do that. So I'm going to go over here, create, no, stop, please. Create a new file called settings form.vue. And that's going to start with a template. And inside of there, very easy, we're just going to have this form. There we go, get that music back up. Okay, music is up, feeling good. Now we need to bring over a couple of things. Let's handle submit. We need to pass in the data as well that's coming from our parent. And that data is basically just going to pass right through this form. So this is where we were talking, where we were Stony Eagle, we were talking to you yesterday or in the last stream about this, is at some point your application reaches a certain level of complexity where you have data, let's say at the top level, and you're passing that down multiple children to get to the bottom level where the data is being consumed. That can get really annoying. We're going to see what that looks like today, which I think is, I still don't really want to bring in a top level like state management library, but we'll look at how this plays out. We've got this data. This is the top level data, right? This basically represents the state of the application. And in fact, I almost think that this could go into its own store file, and then we could maybe just pass this around. We'll see. For now, we'll stick with the props approach. So we need to pass this data into this form. We're going to say data, 4 levels. 4 levels deep is where I would absolutely have to do it. Passing to one child, fine. Passing to a grandchild, okay. Any further than that, If Vue has stores, Vue definitely has stores. In fact, Vue has this concept of reactivity kind of baked in. So I'm pretty sure I could probably do this, like export const data, and then, oh no, you know what? That's one thing that kind of sucks about this setup approach is you can't export from within a setup function. That's annoying. But I think I could pull this data into a separate file and then just import it wherever I want. I got all the hype emotes. Cool. Let's get there. Okay, let's pull these files or these components out of there. We'll put them into the form where they're being used. So we're going to say script. We're going to make this a setup script as well. Close that, paste that in there. And then these are going to come just from their neighbor. And then in app, we no longer have those because we're not using these executed or refs, we can get rid of those. And then, where was I? Update data. Update data. Update data. I'm not using update data? I may be using update data. We'll see. Okay. Handle submit is a function that is not being handled up here anymore. Wait, do I have anything in my... No, okay. So we're going to cut that out. That logic is now only interesting for the settings form. And then in app.view, we actually accidentally deleted something that I shouldn't have. There we go. Let's copy that and redo all those changes we did. Go back up here and import our settings form. Oh my goodness. It looks like r/place. Nice. So now we need to, let's see, we've got our form, settings form. We need to put the settings form onto the page. We have the settings form on the page, and it's not rendering, I think because it has an error. So settings form, let's actually just get this rendering onto the page. So let's try this. Still time to go lurk mode with me and do some work. Yeah, go do some work. All right, where is my form? I read properties name. It's not in my form. Is it in app? Ah, random Pokemon. Did I remove random Pokemon? No. Oh, I guess we need that. 2 JPEG should come up here. Okay. Handle submit should work. There's nothing fancy in there. There's remote into my computer. So wait, what? Y'all are on another level. What am I missing here? Highfills is just hanging out, grabbing a bunch of icons. Stony Eagle is shaking his head and just lurking. And Brent is just making some random colors. Oh, that'll crack me up. Okay, my form is in place. Great. I need to come back here, bring my tabs back, and then... Oh, y'all are working together. Okay. Loyal viewer and wants to work with me, so we work together. That's cool. Can I remote into your computer? So I can remove all the semicolons? All those ugly semicolons that are unnecessary? Okay, so I think... No, for real, you should let me remote in. That'd be great. I think we would have fun. I'm semi-serious about this. Y'all didn't even know my pun game is on point. Okay, so what I have here, I have my new component here. Oh, come on. I promise I'll be good. Stony Eagle, are you on Twitter? I gotta see. There's not like a Stony Eagle, is there? I would be surprised. Are you on Twitter? Yeah, no, oh, you guys want to hear something funny? I had to get some help the other day. So I work for Akamai, and that means that they take security super seriously. So I have a work computer that I have to use for things. And I was having some issues with it the other day. And whenever you have issues, there's this help desk that you can reach out to. And so I reached out to the help desk, and I forget what the problem was, but they had to they basically couldn't figure it out just chatting with me. So they were like, "Oh, can we remote into your computer?" It's like, yeah, okay. And if you've ever had a complete stranger remote into your computer, it's one of the most stressful things, because even though I know that this person works at, the same company as me or whatever, like I've never met them, I've never seen their face, we've never shared a laugh. So my like spider sense is tingling in the back of my head as I click the button that says allow them to take control over the mouse, and then the mouse just takes off without my control. And they start going through, they're like, yeah, they find the problem, they have to report it, and they have to kind of report it to themselves. So they open up a support ticket for them to deal with, and then they take a screenshot of my screen on my computer, and then they need to upload that screenshot to the ticket that they just created. But in order to do that, they had to browse the file system. And do you know how many Pokemon related files I had on my computer when they opened up the file system and were like browsing for that screenshot that they just took? It was so embarrassing because they don't know that I'm building a Pokemon app. They don't know that I have to have like thousands of sprites and Pokemon cries. And I was just like, oh gosh, please just don't look in that folder. And of course they look in that folder. And yeah, I almost died. I was embarrassing. I mean, I'm a nerd. I get it. I get that I'm live streaming a Pokemon tool to create stuff. But for some reason, having a completely random person that I'm probably never going to meet in my entire life go through my computer and see that I have so many Pokemon files, it hits a little bit differently than voluntarily writing code to an audience of people that I can talk to and explain what I'm doing. So, yeah, funny story. What was I doing? Getting distracted. No, I know what I'm doing. I need to pass the data down. So for this form to be able to use this data and pass this data to the settings and the opponent and the trainer. Koten, I know what you mean by that. That is not what work computers are for. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I would feel about remoting into someone else's computer, but yeah, can you imagine? Oh man, you know what's crazy about web development these days is if you've been around, you know how like remoting into someone's computer, especially with them watching, is like a very vulnerable thing. But then especially as JavaScript developers, we'll just go and install 10 random packages from who knows wrote them on npm. And do you know that those packages can actually execute code on your machine or on your server where all of your secrets, man, should I not be saying this? I don't want to be giving y'all ideas. Y'all, pinky promise, you're not going to take this information and use it badly. But you can write npm packages that execute code when they get installed in a post install script, which is crazy to me that I can install someone's package, and then it can run a post install script. It can look for like SSH keys, and then it can send network requests. And yeah. Well, come on, you can trust me. I make Pokemon stuff. How can you not trust me? All right, so I need to define some props here. So my props that I'm defining are, let's see, define props. This is one of those times that GitHub Copilot is actually really not helpful. Did you do the thing? Don't do the thing. Cool. Yeah, if I were to remote into your project, I would probably just drop in little Easter eggs like what is it? The Konami code: up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, and I don't know, to make like a unicorn shoot confetti out of its butt or something. That'd be a good one. Let's see. I'm defining props, right? Because app needs to now pass the data into the settings form. So my settings form needs to define that is expecting that data. So data is going to be a type of object, and that is going to be a required prop. True. And here is what we're doing. We're doing what Stony Eagle was calling prop drilling, where we basically take the prop from the parent and pass it directly to the child, because even though the parent doesn't actually really need it. So we need it here. Let's see. Data. I think, yeah, what I can do here is we're going to do data, and then this is going to be now props.data. This is props.data. I'm just going to copy this. Yeah, that stuff is like very frightening. If y'all aren't familiar, what is it? Spocket? No. Socket.dev. Socket.dev. This is a new project by Firas Abudika. I forget his last name. But Firas, he's like super prolific in the open source and security area. He teaches at Stanford or something. But yeah, you can like look for a package. I'm gonna put myself on blast here. Utensils. Oof. And you can see the security score for these projects. So like, not a great score for security chain security. I don't know why. I guess one dependency has a critical issue. Yearly downloads 31,000. That ain't bad. Yeah, but you can look up popular libraries and see like there's this sort of gamified security vulnerability metric stuff. Definitely check it out. And the cool thing is you can install it. There's a GitHub app that you can install that you can install the GitHub app, and it will like tell you when things change that you really should be aware of. Better than how Dependabot does. A friend has allowed you to access his computer 24/7 for almost 2 years now. Is that like when they're around or not? You're just mining Bitcoin on your friend's computer. Yeah, that's funny. That's weird. I want to know, why would your friend allow you to SSH or like remote into their computer just whenever you want? What is the benefit to them? But why? Why would they let you do that? Makes no sense. Okay, let's pass these props data down. Let's pass this props data down. I think that's it. I hope that I reading.num. Okay, let's find .num. Where am I reading .num? Settings form, random Pokemon. Okay, we need the random Pokemon to be passed down as well. So we've got the data here, and I think we need the random Pokemon. Well, we'll call that the same as pre-selected Pokemon. And then that is going to be, this is another instance of prop drilling, because this form actually is not interested at all in this. But we're going to say type is number, default is null, sure. And then we're going to take this prop, and we are going to pass that in here. Equals, what is it? Random Pokemon. .num. So he is my guinea pig for my project. I'm using his PC to test my software. Also sponsoring your domain. Who is this friend? How can I get friends with them? Sponsor my domain in cloud hosting. That's pretty cool. Wait, he's sponsoring you and you get access to their PC. Is their PC like super badass or something? Or is they're just interested in your project? Can we... Oh, and your project being that one that you shared, the video one. That one? What am I doing here? Random Pokemon. We should be passing random Pokemon down. That's random Pokemon.num. Nope, just a normal 7-year-old i7. So you're just using it because you don't have access to, like, it's you run a Mac and that's a Windows or something, and you need to test your app on different devices. He loves your passion. So you could say he's passionate about your passion. Okay, random Pokemon. Oh, here we go. I'm using the wrong thing here. This should be pre-selected random Pokemon num. We're just taking the data once again, taking the prop and passing it back down. And this should be props dot dot. This is a really cool friend. That's cool. He seems like a cool guy. Okay, looks like our form is back in place. Looks like the data is being passed in. The default values are being passed in. Now, if I change this, it looks like the updates are still working. Sandgrass location. Okay, these are not working, and that's because that is because this update data method is not actually being called, or it's not actually defined. It's weird that it's not being logged here because update data is not defined in the settings form component, but we are trying to execute it here. So what we need is in app.view, we have this update data function, and it looks like it's not actually being called anywhere either. Well, it's not being called anywhere because we're not listening to those changes. So once again, in the same idea that we have this prop drilling where we're passing all these props, we're passing props from the app to the settings form. The settings form isn't actually interested in these props because it just needs them to pass down to its children. We also need to do, what would you call, math, Latin, and Greek. That is pretty cool. And not just he knows math and speaks Latin and Greek, but actually proficient enough that he can teach them. What would you call the opposite of prop drilling, where you have to listen to so many events coming up? Event. I mean, bubbling is the first word that comes to mind, but obviously that's not quite right. Event tossing. Just event. What do you call when something comes to you and you just get rid of it? Event. Well, bubbling. Brent, are you not familiar with what event bubbling is? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that would be confusing. Event delegation is also a JavaScript, like a design pattern for handling events. Uh-oh. Did my battery just die? Camera battery. Oh, camera was having a rough day today. Event delegation. Maybe. I think it's just event hot potatoing is the term I'm going to go with. But in the same way that we have this like prop drilling that goes down, yeah, my camera battery's dead. We're going to switch cameras. I mean, unless I wouldn't want to deprive y'all of this lovely view. So there you go. There you go. How about that? That's the best I can do for now. Dispatching. Oh, event dispatching. Okay, dispatching is a good idea. although dispatching might be confused with like flux pattern of state management, it's just all going to be, it's going to be confusing no matter what, unless we call it hot potatoing. So sorry, I don't make the rules. And I don't really live by them either, but in this case, that's what it's going to be. So we need to hot potato the event that comes up from here, and then we need to emit that event as well. So what is this? This is listening to, or was listening to, I guess we'll just call this an update event. So we're going to say at update is going to equal, or it's going to be handled by update data, the original function that we wanted to update that data. And then on settings here, we're going to say when my settings scene changes, and that's the only one that needs to actually do this. I can't get behind hot potato. No, hot potatoing. I mean, hot potatoing also is known by hot potatoing, so it's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't think about it too much. But what we need to do here is also emit that same event, update event, and call it, and pass the event payload right on through, which is kind of annoying, but that's what we're going to do. So in order to emit this event, all we need to do is define emit equal define, what is it? Define events? Define, I don't know what it's called. Define something. I'm going to say, let's see, find const emit equals. Oh, come on. This is not the only place I'm using that. There we go. Emits. Okay. Define emits. And we're going to say that we are emitting an update event. And that should be it, which I say that all the time. But let's see. Unexpected token, comma. Where's unexpected comma? View 43 line 20. 40. Oh, wait. Okay, there you go. There's a letter T in there. Oh, that's what happened there. There we go. Event. I think I probably copy and pasted something by accident. All right, so all things good. If we change this to water to grass, and we change night to day, we are passing all of the props down through from the app to the form to the section of the form, and then we are listening to the events, hot potatoing those events back up from the section of the form to the form to the app data that's actually in the app component where the function to update the data is being used. All right. So I think, gosh, I think the last thing I want to do now, this is a lot easier to reason with if you were to look at this component, right? You have about 100 lines of code, all included styles, logic, and templating. And the important thing is here that we set up the reactive data, and then we have a function to update that data based on changing input events. And then we also have some logic here that watches for the URL, like changes in the URL, and as those things change, it watches for changes in the data, and as the data changes for the location or the time of day, we also have a watcher that like updates the URL here. So if we change grass to forest, we have the location up here change from grass to forest. So the last thing I'm going to end with today is just to see if I can take if I can create like a store file here, store.js, and inside of my store, I want to see if I can actually modify this. So data equals reactive. We need to import reactive from Vue. And Vue has some libraries for state management, but I think with this reactive function, you may not actually need it. So let's see, export default data, right? Now we have a couple problems here where we need this information to begin with. So we'll pull this in for the initial state of the app. We'll pull the Pokemon list in as well. Okay, that should get us all of the information we need to instantiate our initial store. We'll hit save with that. And then with that, I wonder if I can, let's see. I wonder if I can actually just import it from there. So we're going to say we no longer have this. We're going to import data from /store. Gosh, I can't type. Store.js. In theory, that should be essentially the same sort of object. So I think that this should work. It looks like it's working. It looks like all the functionality is still there. Let me test this one as well. Yep. Cool. Cool. Now the real question is, if instead of passing this data down to my form, oh, the pre-selected Pokemon number, that's not right. There you go. It just took a while, but it's actually broken. Okay. So if I can do that, maybe I don't even need to pass this data down, right? So now I can go into my settings form file and I can say, hey, instead of you bringing these things as props, let's see if you can just pull that in from a global store and say, let's see, import, I don't know, data from /store.js. And with that, I think because it's named the same, it's no longer props.data. I guess the pre-selected Pokemon is still kind of a funky one. I'm just going to set that to like a number for now. So let's set that to 1. So props.data would now become just data because that is what we're calling our global store, which I would probably rename to something more like global state. But for now, because everything is based on the same name, I don't want to introduce too many potential breaking changes. But now we can affect the same global store without having to pass all those props around. So I think this is going to work. I'm actually going to start calling this data, rename that, and that, and that. We're going to call that global store. Okay. Which means because we're passing this data down to each of these, we can probably do the same thing. Okay, we're going to say import, oh gosh, import global store from /store.js. Why do they call it store? I don't know, but that is the common convention. So we're going to take this global store, and anywhere that we're using this data, we are going to get rid of props.data. So props.data. Now it just becomes global store. And that what that was the opponent. Oh gosh. Opponent name. Global store. I'm having trouble reading opponent name inside of settings opponent. I don't know why it's broken. Okay, let's figure this out. Right here, we're going to console log an object with the global store in it. That should make it a little bit easier to see when this loads. Find it right there. It's a proxy where the target should have opponent name of Mewtwo. So global store is defined. Opponent name. There's the problem. We didn't replace it everywhere that it needed to be replaced. So we have data here. Right. Data dot should be global store dot. Okay, that in place. App is looking good again. That was the opponent file. It looks like we have Bulbasaur is actually correct. And then as I change this, it is working correctly. And I can change this to Caterpie to Caterpoo. That's working correctly. And I can change the health. Cool. If I change this sprite to JavaScript, that is working correctly. So, Brent, to kind of answer your question, Vue does have this idea of Vue has libraries, or I guess first-party libraries that are kind of designed to be global state management solutions. And some of them do follow the sort of Flux pattern of having actions and mutations. For a small app like this, you don't need that because you can create a reactive global store to begin with and then just pass that around your app and modify it as needed and see those reactive changes affect the rest of your app as well. So let me finish refactoring this because I think this can fix some of that prop drilling stuff. So since, let's see, what was that file? This no longer needs this no longer needs that data defined, which we still need this like pre-selected random Pokemon number. So we'll get around to fixing that. But here, where we are defining our data props as well, we no longer need that because we can just import our global store from dot slash store.js. And then anywhere that we reference props.data here, just be set to the global store. And additionally, one thing we can do is in our store, let's see, in our app, we have this helper function that was being used to update the data. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go to my store. I think I'm going to keep that as like the data here, but then I'm also going to export a function called update data. And you're complaining about has own property. No. What are you complaining about? Has own property from target. Do not access. Okay. This should actually be object dot has own property dot call on data. What is it? I forget how to do it. Is it call? I'll leave it like this for now. I'll fix that later. This is technically a little bit of a potential security issue. But let's see. So we have this helper function that we're defining here. This is a named export now, which means when I go to these components that actually emit changes, they no longer need to emit changes because that change, again, is kind of bubbling up to the parent, right? Like in our settings form, the settings form was listening to the settings scene emit event, and then on emit, on update, it was passing that up as well. So we're not going to pass that up anymore. In app.view, on that update, we were just calling update data, which means in settings scene, we can actually just call that update data function. So because it's a named export, we can import it here, update data, right? Is that what I called it? Yeah, update data. And then that's complaining because it declared but never used. Okay, that's fine. Instead of emitting this update, I'm just going to call or execute update data with the event. And then we have this other function called select presets. And then that is going to call this select preset, which is listened to on this form. Select preset calls object.assign. So we don't need that either. And we're no longer expecting this data property. It means we can bring that down. Whoops. In settings scene, instead of executing select preset, you can just object assign global store with the event payload. That's that same functionality, now just in one place. Okay. Update data. It's saying it's not defined, but I think it should be. Not read property time of day. Reading time of day. App.view. Data.time of day. Okay. Nope, that should be working fine. This I now want to rename. Instead of data, it's global store. And down where we're binding to it, it's global store. We don't need this update data form function anymore. Well, maybe we do just to maintain some functionality. So we'll import that as well. Oh, okay. I do have a bug in there. I think, is it not like that I'm saying export function? No, that should work. All right, 1 second. What am I doing? Too many things at once. Time of day. This is where we have that bug. Because once again, this has got me twice now. Data. Anywhere else we're using that? Should be global store dot time of day. Okay, everything looks like it's back to working. Presets? Presets are not working. Size? Size is working. Width and height. Grass, location. Location is working. Time of day is working. Preset is not working because select preset. We're no longer emitting any of this information, so we can get rid of that. And then if preset, let's see, console log preset. Oh, no, I do have my presets there. Okay, interesting. This should work. Hear that. Change my presets to large. I'm getting my width and height. Okay. So what if I say global store width equals that equals that? Is that the problem? Maybe an issue with object.assign. Seems like an issue with object.assign. I don't know what that problem is, but this works for me. At the cost of one extra line of code, we are moving most of this logic into a global store situation. I'm kind of loving this, actually. So now app.view, very basic, just has the watcher and has the global store information. The preview, let's see, we'll get rid of that. It's no longer, it may be calling this, but I don't think settings form is emitting this information anymore, is it? Emit is not being called, which means we don't need that, which means app.view does not need this listener anymore. We just have the settings form, and then we have the preview. Man, this is getting very much more simpler, I think. Okay, more spread out, but much more whatever this is. So the settings form is responsible for handling the submit events. And then it needs, oh, we still need this pre-selected Pokemon number. That is the tricky part. Or is it? Let's go, let's see. The pre-selected Pokemon is coming from somewhere. The opponent pre-selected Pokemon was coming from here. Ah, now I've undone so much work that I actually don't know. Go back very far. Okay, where's pre-selected Pokemon? Yeesh. Random Pokemon. I think that maybe Hmm. So the store, this random Pokemon information is being captured. I think I'm just going to do this. Let's take this random Pokemon name and we're just going to put the number there. I could, of course, just put the entire Pokemon object there, but I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to randomly generate this when the store is created. And then I really only need this when this opponent mounts. So we don't need this pre-selected Pokemon. Where is the pre-selected? The pre-selected Pokemon is going to come from the global store dot opponent num or something like that. Name URL. What did I just call it? Opponent num. That's going to be because that is not a sort of a V model. It's not dynamic. It's not going to be bound when this changes. It's not going to update the global store. Maybe we do want it to update the global store because now what we're doing is set Pokemon when that changes. We're grabbing that Pokemon, grabbing that value anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is fine. Let's see. If I hit save, oops, if I reload, I look at the opponent, I am getting now my matching opponent. And when I change this, everything changes accordingly. So I think that's fine. Happy with that. All of the random stuff is happening in the same place, and most of the logic is in the global store. Okay, so now my opponent, we've got the value, we've got that. When we change, we set the opponent. Otherwise, everything is bound to the global store object. And when we change the opponent, we also update the global store. And when we change the file, we update the global store. Cool, that looks good. I think that part's done. So the form no longer needs this prop or that prop. That's all happening at the global store level because this no longer expects any props. So the last one is the train. No, that's not the last one. That's not true. But the trainer's part of this. So with the trainer, once again, we are passing in these props, which we don't need because we're going to import the global store from /store.js. Now props.data will be replaced global store. And see, actually, if Stony Eagle is still on, this is one of the things that I kind of like better about the Vue ecosystem than React is you have this sort of, I guess you would maybe call it two-way data binding, but you don't have to follow not React actually, Redux, is you don't have to follow that super complicated data flow. You can set things up that way, but you don't have to if you, I don't know, there's not a lot of ceremony around setting and updating data. So what did I just change? The trainer, right? So if I go to trainer and I say, my name is Austin, it's being updated there. I change the health. That looks good. I change that to text and we say, need to pay attention because you're doing state management in Vue. You were just saying to fill that, I need to pay attention. I don't quite understand, but I do like the state management in Vue better than Redux. Vue greater Redux. Yes. It's in Pokemon, so it's official. Okay. All right, so that's done. The last thing here then that we have to fix for global state management is the global store here. Now, if we're just passing a global store as a prop, it really seems unnecessary because we can just, after all, it's a global store. We do have this ID, which I don't think we even need that anymore. Do we? Doesn't feel like it. So there we go. We'll go to, let's close some of these down. Boop, boop, boop. And the app preview is now going to pull in, instead of props, it's going to import global store from .store. This one needed a lot of props, but all of these things were things that were kind of being handled at the top level anyway. So instead of these being derived from props, this will be derived from the global store. This other computed value, the location and time of day, will be derived from the global store. And then where else are we using props? Props dot something, props dot, or just props. Props. It means we no longer need to define these props because we're not going to use it, which means we do need this computed. But yeah, that's pretty good. Everything is now using this global store. I was not intending to go this long or go into this much detail. Looks like we do have an error. And that is on the global store, trainer health, get health, or trainer text. There we go. Where's trainer? Where is it's global store.trainer text. There we go. That should do it. Wild Magmar appeared. We go to the trainer and we change that to the status is not quite right. Almost right. If trainer box. That should be boop. Global store.trainer box. Okay, refresh. Broke everything. 2 uppercase. Trainer name. No, that's not right, actually. Trainer URLs. No, that is right. Okay. We're reading 2 uppercase. 2 uppercase. Global store trainer name, opponent name. Trainer name, opponent name. Okay. We have the trainer name. We have the opponent name. Oh, that was it. Cool. So we have everything looking like it's fixed how it was before. We changed this to Austin. We have that pulling from the global store. We changed that text. We have a wild stony eagle appeared. And actually, we're going to change the opponent to Stony Eagle. And it's a cute little, just how I would imagine Stony Eagle to look. And my status, Stony Eagle, always giving me so much drama that, you know, I take more than I give. So that's about where we are. And that's where we're going to end today. I was not intending to go into the sort of global state management stuff, but I think Brent brought it up and it was a really good question. And was a little bit too much to, it was a little bit too good not to go into. And at the end of the day, I think it was a really good solution because we ended up avoiding some of that prop drilling stuff and also the hot potatoing that, you know, I think who came up with that term? Brent? Yeah, Brent. The hot potatoing of the events. So in the end, we have a much nicer app file, very easy to look at and logic about. I have the settings form on one side of the page, and we have this preview on the other. The settings form. There's one problem with the settings form here. One thing to keep a lookout for, let's see, settings form is this class right here. I would not do that. I do not recommend putting sizing details on in the components, like built into the components. I would always opt for having those be things that you add on from the parent. So margin, padding, maybe not padding, maybe padding. I don't know. It depends. But yeah, having like a div around that maybe would have been smart. Like this way, it's very explicit. You can put this settings form anywhere in your application, and because the app is defining what the layout is here, I would even opt to do something like this. So then we have more explicitly like 1/4 of the page, and then the settings form is kind of fitting in there, and the other 3/4 of the page, our app preview and our little avatar. So yeah, that's as far as I'm going to get today. A little bit longer on the stream, but I hope you enjoyed it and learned some things and had some fun learning. And in the next stream, I think we're going to finally get into some styling stuff and fixing things like this really annoying bug where the problem is this file input is just kicking my butt because the width, like 200 pixels, it's because it's like overflowing and causing it to overflow, and because it's a file input, it's doing something weird. I don't know. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. But besides this, like I want to fix these little things and kind of go through that. I also want this to not look like crap when I share it with people and finally deploy it. So we might look into some design stuff and some of the tools that I use to, like, I don't know, maybe do uh, typography, like font pairing and colors and stuff. So that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. What is this? Eagle. What is this? Is this our favicon? Is that what you're trying to do? What is this? Static. Oh no. No, no, no. atvnw.net. No idea what that is. Now I can finish it. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, there is really, I don't think I'm even going to do a raid today. So I'm going to bounce. That's the end of my day. So I'm taking off. JTV. Oh, is that Justin TV? Man, I don't know if y'all were around for Justin TV. That was a fantastic service. That eventually the folks that made Twitch, or the folks that made Justin TV, moved on to make Twitch, but Justin TV was great. All right, I gotta bounce. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. Thanks for the fun and the drama, because that always makes the show more interesting. So until next time, I will be back Friday, 1:30 p.m. I will catch you then. See ya.